Hello, everyone, and welcome to the November meeting of the Kalamazoo Astronomical Society's Astrophotography Special Interest Group meeting. I think I got all that in there. That is quite the mouthful. But tonight we have a very special program for you. I really tried to find a guest speaker for us tonight. I contacted all the astronomy dealers, like OPT and Astronomics. I even contacted a few, kind of well-known astronomy equipment reviewers, and they all either ignored me or turned me down. So I thought instead, wouldn't it be much better for the membership to share some gift giving ideas? Because we are in the gift giving season, and we're all, interested in astrophotography here. So why not share some astrophotography gift ideas? And so that was my plan, is to go ahead and put out a call to the membership and ask them to share their gift giving ideas. And I'm happy to report that 5 of us have done just that. So 5 of us here tonight have gift giving ideas to share with everyone else. And I figured, this is a great way to keep the society in Kalamazoo Astronomical Society. Because of course, the reason why many of us joined the club is to share our interests with the membership at large. So once in a while, it's good not to just be a silent bystander, but to get involved. So that's what we're going to do here tonight. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to share my screen here. Here we go. And so, as mentioned, tonight's presentation is called Great Gifts for the Astrophotographer. And I will start here. So my first gift giving idea is the ebook, How to Photograph and Process Nightscapes and Time-Lapses by Alan Dyer. I've been wanting this ebook, or I guess iBook since it's from Apple, for quite some time. But I couldn't get it until this past July when I got an iPad for my birthday. And this was the first thing that I ordered. So as you can see here, the ebook version, or the iBook version, is 580 pages total. But more recently, maybe in the past year or two, I don't know when, Alan came out with a PDF version for those that don't have a iPad. And that is 2 volumes with 425 pages each. Now, the iBook version, the main benefit of that is it has 20 embedded videos. I haven't seen all of those yet because I haven't read the entire book, but I'm guessing many of the videos are toward the end of the book when it gets into more how to do time lapses and stuff like that. And of course, for the PDF version, where you can't really embed videos as easily, there's links to videos elsewhere. So yeah, there's that's a major advantage of an ebook over a hard copy book, is it has lots of videos. And then probably the heart of the book, the main reason I wanted to get it, is there are 50 step-by-step processing tutorials. And many of those I've gone through, but I'm kind of getting into the heart of that book, the heart of that part of the book right now. So that's really the most valuable part of the book, is the step-by-step processing tutorials. But if you're really just getting started or want to purchase some new equipment, Alan has all kinds of equipment reviews in there, everything from cameras to tripods, remote switches, everything, you can probably imagine that you need to do this type of astrophotography. And then he also has software reviews. And of course, Alan is a major user of Adobe Photoshop, the Adobe platform. But a lot of people don't like the Photoshop platform because, they have that yearly subscription basis, or monthly, but it's cheaper to get it yearly. And so he does review other bits of software that don't have that subscription model to it. So if you don't really want Photoshop, odds are he's reviewing a program that'll work very well for you. And most of those step-by-step processing tutorials are with Photoshop, but he has others as well. And if you're an absolute beginner, to both astronomy and astrophotography, he has lots of astronomy 101 sections as well, like basic motions of the night sky and that kind of thing. I did read that, but frankly didn't learn anything new for me, but many will find that quite valuable if you're just getting started. So as you can see here, the iBook version, which is what I got, is about $28. And then the PDF version is $14.95 each, because again, that comes in 2 volumes. So the PDF version is a little bit more, but if you don't want to, you know, fork out a few $100s at least to buy an iPad, it's a pretty good deal. But if you're not really much of a reader, or don't think reading step-by-step tutorials really works for you, there is another option. I can kind of call this 1A here, is he did put together a video version of this called Nightscape and Timelapses that's available for purchase online. I think you can get it from All Star Telescopes, but you can find the link through Vimeo. And so it's a 4-part series, but part 4 is broken into 2 parts. And you can see here the cost for the 4 parts is about $70. I helped fund this. I can't remember what contribution I made, but I got this as part of my contribution when he was doing a crowdsourcing fundraiser. So I did help fund this, but I can't review this too much because I haven't had time to watch the entire thing yet. I got to find the time to sit down and actually watch them, one at a time. But maybe in the future, when we can meet in person again, instead of here on Zoom or on YouTube, of course, is we might watch these at some meetings. Maybe we'll watch them over the course of a season, or maybe a couple seasons or something like that, but not, month after month after month. So there are 2 options here for you. You can get the ebook version, either with iBook or PDF, or you can purchase the video series, but I think both will be very valuable. So next up, we'll have Anna Daly talk about this gift idea.
Hey everybody, I'll do a quick introduction because I don't know a lot of you. I'm Anna Daly. I joined the group about 6 months ago. I've run into a few of you at the observatory, but my first idea is a vertical battery grip. The idea here is that it gives you more battery to run on while you're taking pictures, instead of just your one battery that you might have to take out and change batteries. This particular model holds 2 of your standard batteries. There are other models that would hold 4 batteries. And there's also, a lot of these have a little adapter where you can put like 6 AA's in and use it that way. Some of them are a little weird, like this one you might have to actually take the door off your camera to put it on there. Mine comes with, for my model, would come with a little dummy battery that has a wire that goes out the door. So, because my door can't be taken off. To put it on the camera, it goes up, and there's a screw that goes up into your mount for your tripod. And then again, on the bottom, there's a hole to put your attach your tripod to. Yes. There's also, if you look on the bottom left, there's a button there, and then there's a cord going up to where your shutter will go in, and you can actually take the picture from that with that button. Some of these also include you can change the aperture and the focus and stuff right from the mount if they have that feature. And these are available for pretty much every brand of camera and every model of camera. All right. I'm going too fast, Richard, sorry.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I see the price range is quite extensive. There's $100 difference between the high and low. Why is that?
Just different brands and different features. If you get the Canon brand, it's going to be much more expensive than this, newer brand. I think they actually go up to more like $400 if you want to get one of the ones that's like on brand and it takes uses 4 batteries. And if they have the features where you can change the aperture and the focus and all that from the mount, then those are going to be more expensive.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
Next,
All right.
Anna.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay.
So this is a shutter release. You can get the wired ones, or there's a remote one that doesn't have a wire. This particular brand comes with both. And then you can go through and set how many frames you want to take, how long you want each exposure to be, how long you want it to be between each exposure. You can set it a delay if you want it to just wait for an hour before it starts taking pictures, or whatever you want to do there. Actually recently got myself one. Took a couple AA batteries. I've used it once, and it worked pretty well. Not only are you going to be able to set up take all your subs ahead of time, but then you're also, if you're only taking one picture, you're not going to jostle the camera and get any blurring from that. And again, it's available for pretty much any camera. You can see in the picture there's two different types of adapter for whatever type that your camera takes. All right. Any questions on that? Okay. So moving on to these filters for the DSLR and the mirrorless cameras. Where do I want to start? Okay, so you can get this for almost any model of camera. There are a few cameras that don't have the space in there, but you just clip it in before you attach your lens or your T-mount or your T-ring inside the camera. The light pollution filter takes out a lot of the disturbance you're going to get from like city lights. And there are also sets for your hydrogen alpha, oxygen, and sulfur. And some are specifically for modified cameras, but a lot of them will also fit your standard unmodified cameras. Like the hydrogen alpha is about $180. Any questions on that one?
All right, thank you, Anna.
Thanks.
All right, so next up is Jonathan Young. Jonathan, go ahead and take it away.
All right, thank you, Richard. So this is a new release from Voigtlander for DSLR lenses. And they've released a couple of epichromatic lenses that are very highly corrected across the field, particularly the 35mm and the 50mm. If you are able to pull their MTF curves, which is basically a measure of contrast across the sensor, it is very even and very sharp, whether it's 10 lines or 30 lines or 50 lines across the field. And that's one of the big downfalls of most DSLR lenses. There's actually very few that are suitable for astrophotography. They correct for coma, correct for distortion. And these relatively new releases are actually from the MTF curves, may be the sharpest 35 and 50mm lenses created for any cameras ever. So these are, a little bit pricey, around $1,000 or so. But very, very sharp. Their particular focal length is very suited for using something like a Skytracker, but without guiding. So you can take a 5-pound tracker, take your Sony camera, take this lens, have a total kit for 6 or 7 pounds when you're traveling, which is something that a lot of us astrophotographers with bigger equipment, it's difficult to do, right? Taking all of our equipment with us. And it kind of brings it back to more the fun and the initial joy of taking pictures in the first place. So definitely recommend these lenses. Again, some of the sharpest, best corrected DSLR lenses that have ever been produced for astrophotography. All right. So this was the 50 millimeter, right?
Yeah.
So very similar to the 35. Little bit more ability to zoom in. So the 35 on a full frame is going to get you a full constellation, really maybe 2 or 3. It was good for framing, you know, if you have a mountain in the background or something when you're traveling. The 50 is a little more zoomed in. For example, if you're looking at just Orion itself, you'd be kind of zoomed in just around the belt, the Orion Nebula, maybe the Witch Head in the corner. But you can definitely start to zoom in and crop to the limit of what those unguided trackers will do. It's an f2 lens. Being f2 in dark skies means that 30-second sub exposures are enough. And, you know, just stack 100 or so, and you should be able to get the equivalent of a, you know, an f5 telescope from the city. You can, which would take maybe 20 hours of exposure. You can essentially match that in about an hour from a dark sky, which is a big reason to do it, and definitely recommend trying with these types of lenses. All right, the 65 is a little bit different. It has a macro function, so very useful in the day as well. It's not quite as well corrected as the 35 or the 50 millimeter. But if you're into macro, it's definitely a quality lens for Sony. It's for Astro, it works really well for an APS-C, but for full frame, there will be some distortion at the ends, but still a good lens overall. And then moving to the 110, the 110 actually gives you a full 1-to-1 macro for daytime use. But for astrophotography, it does have an excellent FTF curve. Again, at that focal length of 110, you're most likely going to want to have a guiding system. Maybe couple it with some of the like ZU ASI Air and a small guide camera. You can do something like that to help guide it along. But the 110 will actually give you a much better reproduction ratio. You'll be around, you know, 6 or 7 arcsecond per pixel versus 20 to 30. So you will actually be able to zoom in and pull out quite a bit of detail, particularly if you're using one of the higher end Sony full frame cameras, like one of the ASRs or an R3 or R4. You'll actually have quite a bit of resolution in those nebulas. The Rokinon is a little bit cheaper. You know, the other lenses were running about 1,000, maybe 1,100 or so. But the Rokinon and Samyang, it's basically just a rebrand of the same lens package. You can get the standard camera lens, which actually has the aperture and clicks. You can get the Cine version, CINE version, which is basically unclicked. It's a smooth aperture ring, so you can do some fine adjustments. Not necessarily great for Astro because you might be off in your flats. But from a total cost, you know, $450 or so, it has almost a perfect MTF for an APS-C sensor. Full frame, maybe a little bit difficult, but for an APS-C, almost perfect. And for an APS-C, you don't have to worry so much about lens-to-lens variation. Definitely do need to be a little bit concerned on full frame. But for your entry-level budget Astro DSR lens, it's very difficult to beat the quality that you get out of this Samyang lens.
Jonathan, this one you say is for both for Canon, Nikon, and Sony, or the previous ones only for Sony?
Yes, unfortunately, Voigtlander only makes them for Sony. Sony is one of the ones you don't see used in Astro so much, right? Most people are using Canons or Nikons. You'll get the maybe filter modified third party. Sony has always been plagued by what's called a star eater problem, and it's just inside their raw processor. It's not really a true raw. So, for example, if you were to use a Sony lens with perfect guiding, it will actually take the very center cores out of the stars. But if you go with a kind of unguided Skytracker, you'll get enough streaking where you can actually still use those other lenses, and it's going to be perfectly corrected across the field. But if you're not using a Sony, this Samyang 135 is about as good as it gets in terms of correction. But at the 135 focal length, probably you'll need to be using some sort of guiding. It is an f2, so you can potentially get by with 20-second exposures if you really want to, but you'll still need quite a few to make sure that you don't have any distortion.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. All right, next. So if you have your ebook, you've done some reading, you buy a camera, you get some lenses, the ones that Jonathan recommended, if they work for your camera, and you do some tripod photography, you're eventually going to want to work up to guided astrophotography. And for years, of course, you had to buy like maybe a small German equatorial mount, like from Celestron or something like that. But in the past 10 or so years, starting with the Vixen Polari, many companies have started to come out with these highly portable star trackers. The one that I have is the original version of this one, the Ioptron Skytracker. My version just looks like a little black rectangular box about the size of a paperback book. And so these are incredibly handy to have. Again, as mentioned, they're highly portable, and you can carry them to, scenic areas you might not otherwise be able to explore or, travel to if you have a heavier German equatorial mount. So Ioptron makes several models. I'll show at least a couple here. And so normally you just buy the tracker itself, and then, but there are packages where you can buy, the ball head and a tripod all together. So normally when you buy like a Skytracker Pro, you have to make sure you get yourself a ball head mount to be able to position your camera the way that you want, and a nice tripod. You can use any camera tripod. Of course, Ioptron, they have one that's, kind of a thin aluminum type model. I personally use a telepod tripod from Teleview because I really like those. They have, padded legs, and you don't freeze your hands when you're carrying these things around in the wintertime. So they can basically, again, attach to any tripod. And the Skytracker version here, as you can see, takes up to about 6.6 pounds. So it should be able to handle pretty much any fairly decent zoom lens up to maybe 300 millimeters or so. And it'll be very steady. You can even add counterweights to this version. I have counterweights for mine, but sometimes I don't know how well they help. And this version is a lot nicer than the version I have because I can make fine adjustments in altitude for polar alignment. But what mine lacks, the original, is it doesn't have any way to adjust, do fine adjustments for azimuth. But this one, as you can see, has little knobs to adjust the azimuth as well. So that was a significant upgrade compared to the version that I have. They all come with illuminated polar scopes. You can download apps for your phone or iPad, in my case, where you can see exactly where to put Polaris. And of course, they all have 4 tracking speeds. Thus far, I've only used mine for sidereal tracking, 1-speed tracking, but you can also do half-speed tracking. And what that's for is if you want to shoot, both the sky and get a sharp foreground. So, it doesn't track as fast to keep up with the stars, but it tracks, good enough so the stars don't trail as quickly, and it gives you a sharp foreground too. But eventually you can start to learn how to do masking with foregrounds and backgrounds, and that's what Alan's book teaches you. And of course, you can use them for solar eclipses or this morning's lunar eclipse. And this one has something intriguing. I'd like to see this in motion. It has a quick slew feature where it can slew up to 180 times sidereal speed for camera framing. Mine doesn't have that feature at all. And this version has a built-in rechargeable battery where mine takes, I think, 8 AA batteries. But I've never powered mine off the batteries because, if you're shooting for a while, they tend to go dead on you, especially in the winter. So for me, I've used a portable power pack, mainly my battery. And this does come with a padded case as well, so that's nice. So again, there's the Ioptron Skytracker, which is only $338. And so for an example, here's a shot of mine. This is, of course, the Milky Way, as seen from the Texas Star Party in 2016. And this is with my original Ioptron Skytracker. And so you can see I used a modified Canon 600D or the T3i with a Rokinon 24mm lens. And yeah, Rokinons are great for their price. You know, they're not super expensive lenses, but they're decent quality. And so this this image here is about 7.2 minutes total at ISO 3200. It's one 30-second shot, one 102-second shot, one 2-minute shot, and one 3-minute shot. So these are all combined together, and that would be, you know, difficult to do with a stationary tripod. So, you know, this is just an example of this type of stuff you can do with one of these mounts. What is going on here? Oh, here we go. The laser was stuck in the box there for a minute. So a bit newer is one of these Skywatcher Star Adventurer 2i Pro Pack. And I believe, you know, speaking of Alan Dyer, I believe this is the version that he used. And he, you know, he has extensive reviews of this, not only on his website, but I think it's in the book as well. So here is the kit version. So you can see the kit version comes, of course, with the mount, which you can purchase separately if you want. It comes with the polar scope and a latitude base here, counterweight kit, the ball head adapter, which again is not shown here, and a declination bracket. So you can see this one holds up to 11 pounds. So you can use small refractors, or in this case, a little, what looks like a little Maksudov Cassegrain, to do, you know, maybe wide field imaging, or probably in the case of a Maksudov here, you know, planetary stuff. So the really neat feature about this one is it does have auto guiding interface as well. So if you do want to use a telescope and use a smaller, you know, guide scope for tracking, you do have that capability. So that really, in a way, makes it just a little portable German equatorial mount. And a competing model of this Ioptron is the Sky Guider. So it's this is kind of an upscale version of the Star Tracker. And again, this one holds up to 11 pounds. And again, you can get it with the counterweights and all that stuff. And the ball pin, you can see this one's with the telephoto lens on the ball mount here. And you can see the various features here. But I wanted to invite, you know, I didn't plan this, but I know Kevin Jung has one of these. And if he wanted to say a few words about his experience with these, he's certainly welcome to.
Yeah, in fact, the one you showed before, Richard knows, has known me for quite a while. He knows that when I look at equipment, I take my time and do a lot of research. And I ended up actually emailing Alan Dyer because he had used both this one and the Star Adventurer. And I was kind of on the fence of which one to buy. Excuse me. And he told me either one would be good. And at the time, it was quicker to get the Sky Guider Pro. I could get it really quick from Ioptron. And I was getting it mainly because I've always wanted to do wide field guided astrophotography, but especially for the 2017 solar eclipse, because I was going out west like a lot of people did. And if you look at the picture Richard has, that's basically my setup. I had my Canon DSLR with a 400mm lens, and on the counterweights were up a little higher, and on the bottom, on the other side of the counterweight, I actually had a video camera to do video of the eclipse. What I did is I've got an old Bogan tripod. They're called Manfrotto now. And I just put the base of, I permanently mounted the base of this mount on it. And the actual mount slides in and out of the base. So you can, if you like have a dedicated tripod, that would be fine. And you don't have to worry about it. And it is extremely accurate. I practiced as much as I could doing some polar aligning, and this is for the eclipse. I practiced doing some polar aligning at night around my house and then during the daytime, but I'll make this quick. When we went out for the eclipse, we actually, it was going to be cloudy where we were in Nebraska, and we drove all the way from Lincoln, Nebraska to Glendale, Wyoming for the eclipse. And I had 10 minutes to set up my rig before the good part of the eclipse start. First contact had already started, so I've seen partial eclipses for a lot of time, so I wasn't worried about that. But I set it up and made sure I was lucky because Glendale was about the same latitude as Grand Rapids, so I didn't have to do much adjusting to that. And I just set it up. I used actually I had a manual compass plus the compass in my iPhone, pointed it due north, got all my equipment on it. I had already made little marks on that, the chrome extension bar to where the video camera was supposed to be and the counterweight. Put it all on there, made sure it was balanced, put the camera on the sun and focused it and got it right in the center, walked off to set up my other tripod with my still camera to do a wide image, came back 5 minutes later and the sun was right in the center and it never moved the entire eclipse. It was that accurate. And I used all battery. This comes with a rechargeable battery. I ended up buying a Pelican case for everything to carry it in. But I would say I got my money's worth for it. And this is going to be my, like we said earlier, I used this when Richard joined me up at Muskegon State Park to shoot Comet Neowise last year. And this is going to be my rig when I go wherever I go in 2024 for the next eclipse. It's well worth it.
All right, thanks, Kevin.
I do want to touch on something you said earlier, Richard. With that Alan Dyer book, if you get the one on iPads and stuff, when he updates it, the updates are free.
Oh, yes, I forgot to mention that. Thank you. I wasn't sure if it was free, but yeah, that's good. That's cool.
Well, when you were talking about it, I got on my iPad and I looked at mine and it says updated.
Oh, cool.
Also, if you don't want to do, if you've got Apple products, there is a program called Affinity Photo, which is basically like Photoshop, and it doesn't cost. It's not a subscription, and it doesn't cost a lot of money, and it works great.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. All right, my last sky tracker is from Explore Scientific, and it's the iExos 100 HD PMC-8 mount. And yes, this is considered a star tracker, but it really is just a miniature German equatorial mount. And I really like this one because, number one, it has a fairly high weight capacity. As you can see here from the bullet points, this thing can hold up to 15 pounds of photographic weight. And I have a little 65 millimeter refractor that's fairly heavy for its size. And so I wanted to get a smaller mount that can hold that fairly steadily. And I think this will do really, really well. And so this one, I believe, has go-to, which the other mounts I don't think have at all. So this one does have go-to operation with an app. I don't believe it has a separate hand control, but you can control it from an app. And of course, if it was only smartphones, I'd be screwed because, of course, I don't have one of those, but I believe I could control it from my iPad. And you can see the various features here, but as I just found out tonight, why hear from me? Because I don't have one of these, but this is the one on my preferred to get list. But apparently Lloyd had one of these. So Lloyd, if you wanted to chime in on your experience with these, we'd be glad to hear it.
Sure. Yeah, it was my first go-to mount, mostly because of my budget at the time. I think, when I bought mine, it didn't have the polar scope. It didn't have this this azimuth adjuster. I had to buy that separately. And so it was, I think it was like $450 or something for it when I first bought it. And it worked really well. It was, once I got the azimuth adjuster for it, it worked a lot better, because adjusting azimuth by loosening the tripod screw and trying to rotate the mount a little bit was a joke. But with that on there, it worked great. I bought like 2 or 3 more counterweights for it. I had this bar loaded right down. I had as much weight on here as you could possibly put on it, I think, and it still was able to hold it. I actually interfaced with Nina. You know, you can see that there's a little USB port on the side, and you can control it with software, just like any other German equatorial mount. And so, you know, for me, as a beginner, for a beginner mount to get into the hobby, I thought it was fantastic. I've since outgrown it, so I sold it, but I definitely had second thoughts about it before I did.
Okay, thanks, Lloyd. Do you know if this will work on any standard tripod?
I actually had it on a tripod for a Vixen Super Polaris, which I think is like the CG5 type tripod, and it worked just fine on that.
Okay.
The tripod that comes with it is, I mean, at least the version that I had, the early version, was not great. But once I put it on that other tripod, it was really solid.
Okay, great. All right, next we have Pete Mumbauer, who's going to tell us about this gift idea.
Yeah, so since we're outside taking astrophotos and we got all of our expensive equipment out there, and occasionally, especially here in Michigan, we get multiple nights in a row where it's actually going to be clear, we don't want to have to reset up night after night. So you want to be able to protect your equipment, you know, during the day, or, you know, even if it's like going to be one night where it might be a little rainy, you can buy these covers from Telegizmo that are fantastic for protecting your equipment. They make them for a wide range of scopes, whether they're Schmidt-Cassegrains from 6-inch up to a 16-inch, you know, fork mounted, Newtonians up to about a 10-inch, roughly equatorial mounted, refractors up to a 6-inch, and then and even Dobbs up to an 18-inch. If you're doing some like Lucky imaging and stuff like that, you can still get them covered up. The outside's a nice heavy duty vinyl, so it's going to be really well at withstanding the elements. The inside has a Mylar reflective to help the radiation. Now, a lot of people get confused and they're like, oh, the shiny part should face outwards and reflect the sun. No, that's a great way to ruin these things, and actually it voids the warranty, and you have to buy a whole new one, so you don't want to do that ever. But they have some great features like straps that kind of go down the tripod a little bit. And actually, if you actually want a cover for the tripod too, they make a lower section too that would cover up your tripod on top of it. But very good. I have one myself before I got my observatory, and I actually had it over my entire scope for probably 5 months straight through rain, you name it, thunderstorms, power cord all the way out there, you know, powered off obviously. But now for like moisture, you can get one of those little dry packs that you can plug in for like removing humidity. You just put it up inside and it helps keep everything dry inside. But it's a wonderful idea to protect your stuff, especially if you're going to a star party. You throw them on there and it just kind of keeps all the elements off of there. Or like you say, if you want to set it up in your backyard and you want to be out there for a whole new moon cycle, or even for the entire summer for that matter, it works really good. And they offer different sizes, and hence the price range from $39 to $190. The $190, I ended up getting the highest end ones because I had to get the biggest one for my, because I had a CG Pro, which if you've seen those Celestron mounts are almost about 5.5 feet tall. Then you get your scope on top of there, CCD cameras and all that stuff, and it was pretty big. So it was a pretty big cover, and it folds over real nice little pull. Held up very well. I still have it. Very, very happy with these. I don't know if anyone else has them, but if you don't, I highly recommend getting it.
All right, thank you, Pete. All right, well, welcome back, Lloyd Simmons, who will tell us about this gift.
So as I said, when I first started in the hobby, I had pretty small mount and telescope setup, and so I could just, loosen the clutches on the mount, pick up the whole thing, take it out to the driveway, pop it down, tighten the clutches, and I was ready to go. So I could be set up in minutes. However, I've upgraded my mount to a G11 this year, and if you've ever tried to pick up one of those, that's not something you can do very easily. I've never calculated the weight of my whole system, but it's probably close to, I would say, 100 pounds or so by now. What I wanted to avoid was having to spend lots of time for setup and teardown, and this has really been the ticket. I got one of these wheelie bars for my mount, and it's permanently mounted on there. I bought the little extra package so you can strap your tripod to it, and it's very sturdy. The tripod won't come off. And I have the one on the top with the hard casters because I just wheel it out into my concrete driveway, and it works just fine. And then you can level it and get it up off the ground and stabilize it with those little screws on the corners. If you want to use it out in a yard or whatever, then they recommend using the one with the pneumatic tires, and I'm sure it works just as well. It's just a little easier to move around out in the grass and all terrain. I know there are some other models like Scope Buggy, which I think work just as well, and they're maybe a little bit cheaper than these, but this has really been worth every penny I spent on it because it makes things easy. And if there's any energy barrier, that always is a problem for me. So this lowers it and gets me imaging more frequently. All right, this one's not me.
Oh, okay, this is me. Okay, the ZW ASI 462 planetary camera. It's a great way to get into planetary or lunar or even solar imaging. Especially, you don't have to be in a dark sky situation, light pollution, no problem. You could be in the city. Obviously, it's a great way to do imaging and not have to worry about light pollution filters. It's one of the highly regarded cameras on the market right now. A lot of the top guys who you see the amazing Jupiter, Saturn photos, even lunar, are using this camera right now. And at $249, it's a really good buy. It's a USB 3. You can see the port on there. So it's a pretty fast download. I can, on my system and the observatory, I can actually get around 120 frames a second, which that says 136. It really depends on how you crop the size of the what you're gonna actually focus on. It's a pretty big chip. If you look at the size, 1936 by 1096, that's actually pretty big for when you're doing Jupiter or Saturn or Mars or whatever planet you're doing for the night, unless you are really magnifying it big time. With a 2.9 micron pixel size, you're gonna the general rule of thumb they'll say is you take your camera pixel size and you want the focal length of your telescope when you use a Barlow. So if you have like I have an f8 Ritchie Cretan scope. So and you take 2.9 and you can run it between ×5 to ×7. So I did the math here real quick. So between f16 and f20 is the sweet spot for this camera, regardless of aperture. I mean, you could be a 30-inch telescope or a 6-inch telescope. It's that micron size is what they have found in recent years is the best advice they give. So, and obviously the higher end, if you're going to push it up to a bigger scale, you better have some super solid seeing like down into the Bahamas. Otherwise, for like here in Michigan, you have to go to the lower end. So, but it's a really great camera, $249. You will have to buy a UV IR cut filter because it is a color camera. Otherwise, your colors get shifted a little bit. and the sensitivity is really high. As you can see, the QE peak is over 80%, which is great because you can have really fast exposure times. I mean, they get to 130 frames per second. That's really crazy fast. You could actually get there if you, like, say you're doing Mars, you would just actually crop a little box. Instead of doing the entire frame, you'd actually shrink it down and then just let it rip. And you would build most of my video files will get to like 5 or 10 gigs in like 1 minute. And then you get about 3 or 4 of those. And then, yeah, you're going to be processing for many hours, especially if you spend a whole evening doing it. Very, very good camera. A bonus feature, as you can see in the picture, it does come with a fisheye lens. So you can actually do double duty as an all-sky camera too. You could put it on a tripod and just set it up and just let it point up. And you could use sharp cap. I mean, there's a few I think the software that comes with it allows you to do some time-lapse stuff. So it's pretty handy to use. Obviously, if the deal with dew, you could probably get a little dew strap to put around there. Trying to think what else there is about this. Yeah, if you're ever interested in getting lunar, moon's super easy. This is a great camera. The price, you can't beat it. And it's probably one of the best ones out there. And there's a shot of Saturn I did, which unfortunately for Michigan this year, and it was like super low, and I was shooting over the roof of the house in the middle of summer, which means there was super heat coming off the shingles, but it worked out pretty good. I used the Orion 2X Shorty Barlow, which it's a good starter Barlow lens if you're like starting out from a starter set. I have since upgraded to a Teleview, which made a big, big difference. It's a nice Apple Barlow lens, and it's only like $90, and that's like a $20 Barlow. So just a little bit extra cost for a Barlow lens, and that actually, that 2X with my 8-inch f8, that put me to f16. So that gave me right to my low end, and being in Michigan, f16 is the low end, and that's about what I needed, and that's a good size, image. Now if I can get good seeing sometime, I'd actually have a pretty decent image, I think. And that was at 1500. Yep, and this is, an ETX 90. Now, I didn't take this one. This was taken by Jesus. I can't even pronounce that last name. But the 462. He used the Astronomical 807. That's an IR filter. Still real good. It helps cut through the seeing actually, so that's helped with this. But for a ETX 90, actually that's pretty impressive. Wonderful camera. Oh wow, I'm gonna keep on talking here. I love it. Love cameras. So the PullMaster. This is one of the best inventions for polar alignment. If you can't figure out polar alignment, or it's just a struggle, or it takes a long time, this baby is it. The whole feature is just a CCD camera on a real short focal length camera lens that when you point it and put it parallel to your polar axis on your scope, you can mount it either right where your polar scope, you usually at the there's usually a plug you got to take off. My astrophysics mount, that's where I plug it in. Actually, it mounts on there as a little adapter. They make a bazillion adapters depending on what mount you have. Or some guys, they'll actually they'll put it on underneath their dovetail plate on their deck axis, because it doesn't matter where it is. It could be at the very bottom of the counterweight shaft, honestly, as long as it's just parallel to it. Because what you're going to do is that you start off, you take an initial picture and you swing it about 30 degrees. You take another picture, and there's 3 points, and then all of a sudden it calculates it. Hey, there it is. Richard, you are awesome. Yeah. So they make it super simple. The software it comes with, you can do this before its astronomical twilight ends and be within probably 30 arc seconds of polar alignment. I mean, it goes really fast. You can kind of tweak it if you really want to, but it doesn't take much, because once you do that initial thing, it'll actually bring up a little, I don't know if you have the next screen. I'm trying to keep up with all your slides. Oh, you don't. Oh, poop. I should have recorded it when I did it last. But anyway, you bring up a thing and it just actually tells you, and it's all real time when you're doing all this, the camera's going, you adjust the gain. You can't really see it, but when you're going through it, they're walking you through it, and it says, you know, adjust your little slider so you can see stars, and you see the whole field of view. You see Polaris, you'll see a ton of stars. I mean, it's actually a really wide field of view. But then as you're rotating the camera, you'll see the whole field of view rotating. But then they'll just tell you, hey, adjust your azimuth, adjust your altitude, and you'll see everything. And they'll tell you, hey, put Polaris or put these stars, this pattern onto this, you know, onto the stars onto the pattern. And then you kind of swing the thing back and it just tells you, hey, okay, you're done. And it's super accurate. I did it once with my mount and I don't really had to mess with it again. So for that, so I'm trying to see here, it's $269 from QHY. Orion sells the exact same thing, but they call it the Starshoot P1 polar alignment camera. Exact same thing. It looks identical to it. It's a native window app that they make for it. Sharp Cap Pro can be used with it also. They have another one that's highly rated for doing the polar alignment. It can actually interface with the camera. I haven't tried it. I think like I said, I think at beginning of before the meeting started, I think it's like £5. I think it's a British software that made it. But highly recommended. If you have an observatory or even if you're out on the road, even if you're using those star trackers and you have a laptop with you, you need a laptop to use this. You just slap that thing on anywhere on the mount, pretty much, as long as it's parallel to that thing, and you just got to swing it around so the thing moves actually. You can be polar aligned really quick in minutes. That's it. Any questions? Or, nope. Okay.
All right, thanks, Pete. All right, so for our next gift idea, you'll have to be an especially good person this year because this is our expensive one. So Lloyd, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, so I recently upgraded to an Astrocam, a cooled Astrocam from a DSLR, and this is the model I settled on. It's from QHY. It uses the Sony IMX 571 mono sensor. This is a very low noise, low dark current sensor from Sony. The resolution is 26 megapixels. The images I get out of this are about 51 megabytes. The advantages to this is that it has, you know, it's very sensitive with the high QE. Like I said, with the low noise, you with no dark current, you pretty much don't even have to use dark frames with this camera. There are a lot of people that aren't even using dark frames to calibrate their images. There's no amp glow at all compared to some of the other cameras that are on the market, like the 294s and the ASI 1600s. So you have a lot lower noise when you're calibrating your images. It has a heater on the sensor glass window here to keep dew off, and it has an internal humidity sensor. So if it starts to get humid inside the chamber, you can get the humidity out with some. There's a little tube that you hook up to it with desiccant to dry out the inside. Like I said, it's a cooled camera. So it goes down. It's rated to go down to -35 below ambient temperature, and that's in Celsius. To be on, like the one that I have, it's really more like -25 to -30. But still, with the low noise, as long as you're below zero, it's pretty good. ZWO and Altair and others make, essentially the same model. I think they all work as well. I'm not beholden to QHY, but I think any of them that use this chip are all really worth the upgrade if you're using an older sensor.
Hey, what size filters are recommended for this? Are they 36 or 1.25 inches or bigger, 2-inch?
Thank you for that lovely segue. I use 36 millimeter filters with it. There's very little vignetting with those. I mean, obviously you could use bigger, but As you know, with filters, the bigger you get, the bigger your wallet better be. So I settled on Antilla filters to go with this new camera. And as I said, I got the 36mm ones. They have a V series for their luminance red, green, blue. I have the original V series. They now have a Pro set. I don't really know what the difference is, but you know, they're parafocal, and they're parafocal with the narrowband filters that I also got, which are the 3mm ones. So far, they've performed very well for me. I haven't noticed any halos or any reflections. The transmittance you can see is pretty high, and I'm not going to claim that they're Astrodons or they're chromas, but for the full set, I paid about $1,380. For the same set in Astrodon and chroma, it's well over $3,000. So, you know, filters aren't cheap, and these ones, I think, for the money, they perform pretty well.
How's the reflections and stuff? I know when you start getting down to the lower end, I don't want to say lower end, but you know, compared to Astrodon and chromas, you can start getting reflections
Sure.
on like Vega and, you know,
Right,
the tougher
and, you know,
targets.
I haven't tested them thoroughly yet.
Okay.
You know, I've only had the rig up and running since like September, and you know, we
Oh.
haven't had a ton of clear
Yeah.
skies since then. So, you know, what I've seen so far, I haven't noticed any, but I haven't really taken any images of really bright stars yet, so I can't
Okay.
really comment on that.
Yeah,
But
I'm really thinking about this chip camera, almost the same setup, and the filters are like killing me right now. I haven't really heard much about these filters, so I'm really interested.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely keep you posted.
Yeah.
I will say the Astrodons have some reflections as well on the brightest stars. So
Okay.
All right, thanks, Lloyd. So next up, we have again Jonathan Young to tell us about this gadget.
Yes. So we spend a lot of time getting our pictures, calibrating, setting up everything, and when we get to processing, very few people actually calibrate their monitors, and this is something that maybe the first couple of years, you know, processing images, you don't really notice is a big deal. But then maybe you get a second monitor, or maybe you spend a little more on an IPS monitor, and you realize it looks completely different than your other one that might be side to side. This then becomes a bigger issue when you post images on the web, and then they don't actually look the same on your computer or when you look at an iPad. So to get everything to really align and to use the proper color space, there are these kind of third-party cameras that you buy, and you basically put it in front of your monitor, and it takes a spectrum and can automatically adjust in the background kind of the settings, the hues, the various contrasts for different color channels within your graphics card to make sure that you are actually outputting what the data is saying that it should be. So this is an example of the Spider X Elite Color Control Kit. There's several of these that are available, little different variants. They all run about $200 to $300. But this one tends to be pretty consistent. It's really easy to use, really quick in the end. And, you know, at the end of the day, saves quite a bit of time. You know, this is maybe a 5 to 10 minute process max to calibrate your monitor. And then the next 4 to 6 hours you spend processing your image, you know it's correct, and you don't have to go back and reprocess it a week later when you realize it has color cast or some other issue that you didn't expect. But definitely recommend. You know, works for all monitors and will in the end save you a bunch of time if you're really serious about getting the most out of your images.
Do you know if the because I have an older i1 calibrator, and I use it obviously on I have modern 4K monitors, and Do you know if those are still accurate for those, or should I, like, you think, upgrade to something that's probably more designed for LCDs or whatever these things are?
Well, it changes a little bit. The nice thing about this is you do actually get the calibration card with it. So you can hold up the card to your monitor and make sure it still looks right.
Okay.
On the other hand, for like the older models that you might have, you can actually buy those cards for about $10. And definitely recommend doing that and just, you know, double checking does it actually look right.
That's good to know. Okay, thanks.
All right, thanks, Jonathan. So for our last item, you can buy Atom Block for $180. Well, not really, but this is about as close as it can get. So you go through a lot of effort, you know, to purchase your equipment and software and all the wonderful accessories. And it comes time to finally process your data. And that's kind of where I am. You know, I have all the equipment. I either have the club stuff that I use or my own stuff, although I would like to get a better camera for me, but that's a whole different story. And I'm really at the point where I really want to dig into learning how to properly process my pictures. That's why I've been so slow in processing images with the remote telescope that I've taken, because I've taken a lot, but I've processed very, very few of them because I'm a perfectionist and I want to make sure I do it as best as I can. I would prefer not to have to go back to my older pictures and reprocess them over and over again. So one thing that I've looked at, you know, I've looked at plenty of YouTube videos, but, you know, those are of, you know, various quality here and there. But what looks really, really good, and I've read really good things about, are Atom Block's PixInsight tutorials. So the one that I would probably start with is PixInsight Fundamentals. He has a higher end version called PixInsight Horizons 2 for more advanced techniques, but I'm nowhere near there now. So Fundamentals includes PixInsight Fast Track and Pix TV. And you know, Pix TV will have like semi-regular episodes that kind of come and go. And he has 4 of those thus far. And I'm sure he'll add a great deal more in the future. And of course, there's Fast Track TV too, or Fast Track, which has, you know, the fast track way of getting started with, you know, the basics of using PixInsight, which is really what I'm looking for. Of course, I have the PixInsight book, but, you know, PixInsight is updated regularly. I just did some updates today to it. And so, you know, hard copy books can't keep up, but Atom can always churn out new videos or replacement videos as things change. So as you can see here, the PixInsight Fast Track, you know, that is a $60 one-time cost. But if you purchase it year after year, you know, for at least 3 years, that goes toward the fundamentals. And so that includes 3 hours of training videos and does include sample data. But, you know, I have access to pretty decent data with the remote telescope, but I would probably work with the sample data to work along with the videos and then try my images later. And then I mentioned that PixInsight TV is has 4 episodes, and those are $15 per episode. But if you get fundamentals, you have lifetime access to both of those. So you don't have to keep paying $15 an episode, you know, for who knows how many years he'll be doing these. And so with fundamentals, you know, there's a lot more videos. There's more than 30 hours of content. And again, there's no additional cost for future editions. So it's basically a great deal of material. It'd probably take you, you know, months, if not a year, to get through. And they are available, you know, for streaming online. So you have to watch them online. But, you know, today you could buy a little program for your computer to record whatever comes across your screen. And you could theoretically, you know, record your own copies for use away from internet. You know, you might be out at a star party without access to high-speed internet, and maybe you're, you know, sitting in the bunkhouse or under the big tent where they have you know, lunch and dinner during the day, and you think, oh well, I got nothing better to do, so I think I'll process. And hey, it'd be handy to have Atom Block's videos with me, but I don't have internet. So if it were me, when I finally, spend money on this, I think I'll probably record all the episodes first, throw them on a portable hard drive so I can make sure I can watch them wherever I go. But of course, most of the time I'll be at home and I'll just watch them online. So he does have other tutorials for other programs like, Photoshop, but I think Alan Dyer's more the authority there. But of course, Adam Block is one of the authorities for PixInsight in the world. So as I get into more advanced processing using data from the remote telescope, this is what I want to check out. And maybe, again, once we start meeting in person for SIG meetings, we can watch some of these in person and people can get a taste of them. So that's something to look forward to. So that concludes. Yes.
Just a quickie.
Yes.
That price you showed is for the fundamental package.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so this concludes great gifts for the astrophotographer. I hope you saw something you want to put on your wish list. And when you do, be sure to share it with us during a SIG meeting, or better yet, maybe a review for the newsletter. All right, we're back. So welcome back, everybody. If we have any more questions for any of our presenters, we can do that right now. So we must have covered the bases pretty well. I don't hear anything.
One of the things I was thinking about while this was going on is one thing I bought this year and haven't had a chance to play with it yet is I bought a cell phone holder so I can shoot with my phone if I want to. Because you see a lot of people doing that, holding up their phones to the eyepiece and things like that. And after a bunch of research, I ended up getting the Celestron XYZ because it allows you to it's got 3-axis controllers, so you can do your X, Y, and Z axis to get the camera lens pointed right down the eyepiece. And depending on the time, it's like $60, but if you're like me and you wait for sales, I ended up getting it for like 35. I just haven't had a chance to use it yet. Okay. But that's something inexpensive that somebody might want to pick up if they just want to play with their phones.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Anybody else? Okay, so let's go ahead and work our way through the agenda here. Does anyone have any recent astro photos they'd like to share? I do have a couple.
I have one, Richard.
Oh, go ahead, Lloyd. Why don't you start?
Sure.
Oh, hang on. I
Yeah,
gotta make
you
it.
won't let me. You won't let me share the screen.
I'm sorry. I didn't do that yet. Okay, now you can.
All right, so this was taken with the camera, the 268M, and the Antilla filters that I was just talking about. So this is just the raw stack drizzled out of PixInsight with no processing. This is about 7 hours of oxygen data that I captured the like 2 clear nights we had earlier this month. And so you can see there's not a lot of noise here. If I go way in, you can see a little bit, but it's pretty noise free for being just a raw stack. So I think I've got, what I have here is pretty reasonable. I think I can make something out of this. So I still need to get a little more data on the other channels, but I'm off to a good start, I believe. Oh, sorry. And this is the Pac-Man Nebula NGC 281.
Yeah, I was gonna say waka waka waka. All right, thanks, Lloyd. Anybody else have any new images to share? All right, I got one. So let me share my screen here again, if I can find it. So of course it was cloudy here in Michigan last night for the eclipse, but it was clear out west. And actually there's two I want to share. Let me go back to the first one first. And so I kind of followed it on the all sky camera for a while. And so this really bright thing here is the moon. But if you've ever looked at the all sky camera during the full moon, you know, it just dominates the whole sky. You have this big, bright, shiny orb. The sky is blue, and it just looks insane. So this is near, this isn't at maximum, but it's just maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes or less before maximum. So here's the moon with the Pleiades above and the Hyades over here. And I wish I could have shared the video, but I still haven't figured out how to find the video that the software makes, because it does store images into an AVI file that you can play back, at least on the remote computer, and watch the moon get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. I was hoping to figure out how to download that and share it with people, but I couldn't figure it out. But it is pretty cool. You'll just have to take my word for it. And then I tried to fire up the remote telescope, which of course isn't designed to look at the moon at all. You know, people always ask, you know, can we look at the moon or can we look at the planets, you know, during like an online viewing session? And of course I say no, because we don't have the proper focal length. And for our cooled sensitive cameras, the moon's usually way too bright, or the planets are way too bright to do anything with. But I figured during an eclipse, maybe I could try to get something. So here's what I got. So I didn't even bother with the 20-inch. I figured that'd be way too big, even for the shortest exposure the camera can do. So this is with the Takahashi, and I didn't want to crop this. I wanted to show you first the full frame with the STX 16803 camera, which is a full frame, basically 37 millimeter square chip. So this is how big the moon appears on that camera with the Takahashi, the 4-inch Takahashi. And I'll just kind of zoom in here. I'll just jump up to 100x there and then zoom in a bit more. And of course, this is nowhere near my best lunar eclipse picture ever. I probably should have took a series of pictures and stacked them together, but this is only 3 images, which is 1/10 of a second each at through the red, green, and blue filters. I did take a couple luminant shots at the same exposure, but I just very quickly combined the RGB images and tried to process it a bit, and this is the best I could do. So again, it's not the best image ever, you know, the best lunar eclipse image I've ever taken, but I figured it's better than nothing. That's better than the show that we got here. And yeah, is there a question?
Richard, what time was this?
This is pushing 4 o'clock in the morning for us.
Yeah.
So 2
Well,
o'clock
that's
out
peak.
there.
At maximum then.
Yeah, this is right around maximum. So you can see very little of the moon showing. I probably should have experimented with a bit longer exposures, because again, I had to push the hell out of this to bring this up this much. So that's why it looks so noisy. If I would have took maybe a 1 second shot, or maybe even a bunch of 1/10 of a second shots, it might have been sharper. But you know, for a first attempt, it's okay. I'm not happy with the color, but if I tinker with it enough, I'm sure I could make it look approximately right. But that's the best I can do. And kind of while we're on the subject of lunar eclipses, I'll kind of jump ahead in the agenda. And I don't know if anyone went to Space Weather and saw this picture here, but I'll click on it there for a little bit better view. And you can see this is from a gentleman named Morris Yoder in Montezuma, Georgia. And he apparently had some high-level fog or thin clouds and got this cool ethereal effect of the lunar eclipse. Really helps give it a 3-dimensional appearance too. To me, it looks like it's kind of hanging in the screen. So I thought that was really, really neat. And I think for my next picture, I can just click on the tab there. I can't do that. I thought I could. So let me get rid of that. I'll have to jump back down. I thought I had, oh no, it's up here. But I can't get to the tab now because the Zoom stuff gets in the way. So I'll just scroll down and find it because I don't have this handy on my computer. So on November 7th, we had a nice conjunction of the waxing crescent moon and Venus. And so I drove outside of town somewhere. I didn't end up where I wanted to. I was going to try to take this from like farm country over some farm, but I got turned around by that goofy runabout they have on M43 now up on Go Road here. So I made a wrong turn there, ended up going the wrong way because I mistaken the road I was supposed to turn on. And so I ended up at some development where they, you know, where they're plowing out places for new houses, but I digress here. So you can see they're about, I think 5.5 degrees apart here. I could just fit them in the field of view of my 10 by 50 binoculars. So they were pretty close together. Unfortunately, you know, we have these pesky clouds. So I get this glare around the moon and Venus, but it does give a neat effect. So again, landscape photography is really fun. You know, it's really quick. It's really rewarding. And that's why I again encourage everyone to get Alan Dyer's book and learn about landscape photography. So those are the only pictures that I have. I have been imaging with the remote telescope, but again, until I can figure out how to process properly, I'm not touching those anytime soon.
I've got one I could show.
Okay.
Can I share my screen? Share content.
I do believe you should be able to.
Okay. Everybody see that?
There we go.
This is, I went out to the beach for November, but it was actually too cloudy. And so I didn't get it. But this is actually in October with the moon and Venus over the big red lighthouse in Holland. There were clouds there too. As it got darker, the clouds sort of, the moon and Venus settled into the clouds. So I ended up just using this image. Not the best. I've done a heck of a lot better, but there's one more chance in December. They're going to be pretty close together on December 6th. So I'm going to run out there again. But the interesting thing is this is shot with my iPhone. I was shooting with my regular camera, but I also just pulled my phone out and grabbed this quick shot. So you can do some pretty good things with phones now too. I mean, not deep sky, but well, I suppose you could, but that would be a lot of stacking. But that's just the picture I had.
Richard, I have one also. I can like.
Okay, great. Are you? Yeah. Go ahead.
How do I share it?
You have to go to the bottom of the Zoom screen there where it says share screen. It's a little green button.
Can you see it?
It's coming. Should have popped up by now.
It
Did
says sharing.
Did you select the proper screen? Because we're not seeing anything yet. Let me, here, I'll
sharing.
I'll undo you here and go ahead and try it again. We'll try it one more time. Make sure you select the screen you want to share.
Oh, I see. Do you see it now?
There we go.
Yeah. This is some few weeks ago. I drove to Mission Peninsula hoping to see Northern Lights. That day, everybody was predicting that we should see Northern Lights, but Northern Lights didn't show up. But I could get this photo of the night sky. I think you can see that the Pleiades in the all the way to the right. This is with my regular 60D camera, Canon 60D with a fisheye lens.
What do you think is tracking to the left? Is that a meteor? Is that a meteor?
I think it's
a plane.
Airplane.
Yep.
What?
plane.
It's the blinking light on the plane going through the
Oh,
long
okay.
exposure.
Yeah.
Am I the only one who loves catching planes? I like
Yes.
the little dotted line.
But I have another, yeah, in my next photo, I saw a satellite, it's not blinking. Anyway, I could see the Milky Way, so that's a excitement.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Arya.
Where was this, Arya?
This is a Mission Peninsula in Traverse City, little north of Traverse City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'll stop sharing.
Okay, thanks, Arya.
Thanks.
All right,
Yeah.
anybody else have anything to share?
I got
Yeah.
sort of, I don't know, I probably won't even share it. If some of you known, in the last few years ago, they discovered a new nebula called OU4, the Squid Nebula. It's a really super faint O3, really cool looking. So I figured, hey, I got a fast little refractor right now. It's like F4, how hard can it be? That thing is ridiculously hard. Okay, I'll show you what I got. This is, let's see here. This is about 6 hours worth of exposure so far at F4, and you can just barely see the outlines of like the head, a little bit of the crown right here. This kind of goes down to here, but this is going to take me years to actually. No, I need that better camera that has, because this is using an older 8300 Kodak CCD chip, so it's pretty noisy. But yeah, it will be cool someday, really. But yeah,
It's a hard target.
Yeah, it is. I didn't realize how hard, and I didn't realize how big it is, because this is the whole field of view. It's actually a fairly large field I have. Normally, I could fit the entire North American and Pelican in here, and it's sitting right there. So I didn't realize how big that thing was. So, but yeah,
It'll expand and get lost into the interstellar medium before you finish it.
I know that's pretty depressing. Poof, it's gonna swim away.
All right, Jonathan, did you have something to share?
Yeah, I got one I can share.
I hope it's not the squid. Hope it's better than that. Has anyone got the squid?
All right, this is the monkey head up in northern Orion. This is actually only one night, roughly almost 7 hours, half HA, and then S2 and oxygen were split about evenly. It's been a while since I actually shot a bright target, so that was actually quite pleasant. I'd been going after some of the very faint, sharpless targets recently, but this one seems to have turned out pretty well. Good color between the various channels. This was taken with the 268M as well, and I run at about -5 degrees Celsius, but honestly, 10-minute exposures, almost no noise at all. Difference between the 10-minute dark frame and a bias is about 1 electron. So I don't really even need to take darks when it's this cold out. But so yeah, this is the monkey head. And again, just one night. I'm hoping to actually get another couple nights of this coming up.
Very nice, Jonathan. Thanks.
Very cool.
All right. Are there any more photos to share? Any new stuff to share? Moving on. I don't know if anyone wanted to share any images from other astrophotographers that caught your eye in the past month or so. So far, this hasn't proved to be a very popular segment with you folks. I guess no one views other people's images online that they want to share. I do all the time, always looking for ideas of stuff to shoot. So we'll just go ahead and move on.
There was one, Richard, but maybe give me a minute to find it.
Okay, yeah, we can come back to that. So next up, we have new astrophotography related equipment and software. Of course, we shared a lot of the software that we own tonight, but did anyone purchase anything new they wanted to mention or excited about to use?
Yeah, for once I didn't buy anything.
That's good.
I know. We should
But
have we should have clear skies. What's going on?
But yeah, I was going to say, but yet somehow it's cloudy anyway. All right, we'll move on there. So
I am
yeah.
expecting Wednesday, hope to take delivery of the new Red Cat 71 telescope from William Optics. So hopefully that will become my, yes, guilty.
Cool. All right, moving on. The one thing I've been wanting to mention for a while is if you are an astrophotographer and have a pretty good collection of images, is I would like for you to create a astrophotography gallery for the website. Of course, many people have a gallery already, and I probably should have had that uploaded and ready to go. So, but I can remedy that real quick. So let me share the screen again here. And hopefully you visited this page at least once or twice. And so you just go to the gallery section. You can select member astrophotography. And I only have these 8 so far, but like, for example, Bill Nigg here, he hasn't sent me anything new in a long, long time. So he only has 9 images on there. And I even have enough to share with Mike from Mike Milwaukee, but I just got to have time to put those together.
We need to update my picture, man. That's an old mount. Oh,
yep.
I got the scruff going.
That's right. You look like the Wolverine there. Gotta whip out the adamantium claws. So if you'd like to add a gallery to this page, let me know. All you have to do, of course, is send me the pictures at a fair resolution. You can do it via the cloud, because obviously I think the pictures will be too big to send by email. And you just have to write a short caption. You do not have to do what Matt Garton did here, is he basically ripped off a bunch of sciencey stuff from Wikipedia about each target he imaged. You don't have to do that. Just give me the basic facts of how you took the photo, where you took the photo, and stuff like that. So you can read some of the, like, for example, some of my stuff, and you can see how I put the caption together. It's not like this huge, long paragraph. It's just a short little thing, because when people view the website, I think some of them might want to know how the pictures were taken so they can try to take the pictures themselves. So if you have some time over the winter when it's cloudy and you're stuck inside and you're tired of watching Netflix or Disney Plus, why not spend some time gathering some images together with short captions and send them off to me, and I'll put together a member astrophotography gallery for you. And Pete, you can send me a new picture for your page there. And I did see in the chat here while we're talking that Dave Wolf, who I still believe has video and audio issues, someday he'll get that fixed, is he has a 14-inch Edge HD on order. And Dave, just a warning, do not call me every time you have to set that up to help you mount that thing on your mount, because I'm not going to come out and help you. So just mount that thing once and leave it there. I'll help you one time and that's it. Yeah, fair enough.
I think the trick with it is you mount it facing straight down on a stool and you rotate the mount 90 degrees. That way you don't actually have to lift it above your head.
That's the official AP recommended. Do it when it's parallel to the ground and snap, rotate.
Yeah.
Or, and as Richard said, just leave it on. Especially if it's an observatory.
All right, Jonathan, did you have that image to share from another imager?
Yeah, so this was actually Astrobin image of the day about 3 weeks ago, but it's a new discovery. It's a very large planetary nebula in Andromeda. So if I recall this correctly, it's a little bit north of M33, and it's about 1.5 degrees across. So yeah, basically a 90 arc minute image. This particular picture is 129 hours with an Epsilon 130D. So this is a very fast scope in 129 hours. but yeah, just hiding in plain sight. New planetary nebula.
How did he possibly find that?
I don't know, but you can see, you know, Pleiades here, M33, California Nebula, very large.
Wow.
129 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
Was that done from space? How did it get that much
No,
time?
no. Actually, so it's only on 130, but I believe he has 5 of them tied together on the same mount.
Oh, okay.
So it's really only 20 hours of night, but picture itself is almost 130 hours.
Must be a helium balloon.
Maybe I can just do it off of H alpha and call it good.
Yeah, I saw this and I went out the next day to try to get it, but unfortunately I had the moon a little bit too close and really didn't get anything in one night. So.
Wow. Are there any papers or anything on it yet, or much out there?
No, not so much. I think a couple other people have tried. Go back here. You know, there might be a few things in the comments, but again, it's an image of the day, so it's pretty easy to find.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, lots and lots of comments on this one. So.
Excuse me, image of the day for what?
It's an Astrobin thing, right? So every day Astrobin, you know, if you go to in their explore function, every day they pick a new image of the day. So this is today's, and you go back through, and basically they have a panel of judges. I think on a daily basis, maybe 400 images are uploaded. And then it goes to a panel of judges and they have a bunch of nominations. And then roughly a week later, out of those nominations, which might only be 3 or 4% of the total pictures, the judges will pick what they decide is the best one. And they'll put it up here. But anyway, it's searchable. These are kind of all excellent images, really, in the end. The one I pulled up, I think, was from October 25th. But if you're going to try to copy the processing style of an image or try to get to a certain, you know, cleanliness of an image and certain color pops, this is a good reference. But yeah, I thought this was cool. Just
yeah, that's amazing.
Giant planetary nebula hiding in plain sight.
Pete, as he was scrolling, I think I saw a picture of the Squid Nebula go by.
Yep, he wants swimming
yeah,
by.
I went through it extra quick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, tough target. Really tough target.
Yeah.
I've tried that last year, actually.
Yeah, Astrobin is definitely my go-to processing reference or just imaging idea tool, just to see all the different ways people have processed stuff.
All right, moving on here, just wanted to mention a few things with the KAS remote telescope. Number one, I know not many people are using the remote telescope right now. I think, heck, the only one that's pretty much used it throughout this month is Henry and I. So, you know, if you have your own equipment here in Michigan and you haven't been able to use it very much, remember, we have the remote telescope available for use. We spent a lot of time and effort getting that project put together, and not that many people are taking advantage of it so far. Right now, we are having one issue with the roll-off roof. I think one of the, oh gosh, now the term has gotten stuck in my head. One of the safety switches, the name escapes me for some reason right now, is stuck in place. So it keeps the roof can't tell when it's closed. The limit switches, I think. Yeah, that's the term I'm looking for. One of the limit switches is stuck on the roof again. So if you want to use the remote telescope, you have to kind of, you know, of course, make a reservation, and you might want to email me to remind me to roll the roof off. But Mike Patton is supposed to be out there probably about now or so. He was supposed to arrive, I think, sometime this week, and he'll check to see if it's a loose or a stuck limit switch that's making it difficult to roll the roof on or off. You can roll the roof back on, But again, you'll get an error message for shutdown because it doesn't know the roof is closed because of that stuck limit switch. So it's probably just dust. You know, that place is very dusty. But other than that, that's the only issue we're having right now. And we did order a new piece of equipment for the remote telescope. Our current auto guider, which is also the original auto guider, is a Lodestar X2, which is a really, you know, it was a really good image auto guider in its day. It still is. But we're going to upgrade to a ZWO ASI 174mm MIDI auto guider. And of course, it's way on back order right now. It'll be probably on back order until hell freezes over. There were some places that had it in stock, but they had it in stock for $100 more. I don't know if OPT will try to bill us an additional $100 when they finally get them back in stock, but I'm hoping maybe we're locked into the lower price and we'll be good for a while. Yeah, Pete.
I just got an email saying they have them in stock.
I got an email that they had. Yeah, I got that email too, but I checked I don't think it's our camera. They have other ZWO cameras in stock, not that specific one.
Oh, okay.
Because I haven't heard anything yet. It seems like they contact us as soon as they got them in. So the great thing about that auto guider is it has 5 times the field of view of the current X2 camera that we have. So, you know, there have been some targets in the sky where we've been having issues finding guide stars. Like I can never get guide stars on like the Helix Nebula or NGC 4565 and Coma Berenices, because I've been hot to take images of that for a long time because, you know, I love Edge on Galaxies. I've been working on 891 for a long time. And so hopefully with that wider field of view with our on-axis guider, that'll let us basically find guide stars wherever we want. So we'll keep you updated on that. And of course, it's only $50 extra to use the remote telescope. That's a yearly fee. You know, try finding a commercial remote telescope for that price for one night. You know, maybe an hour or two, but not like a full night for, you know, several nights a year. So the remote telescope is an incredible deal for members. You have the darkest skies and the best equipment still available. And of course, if you want to use more local equipment and you like going outside and of course freezing, is when it is clear, you know, maybe you don't want to set up your telescope. So remember, we do have Owl Observatory where we have a Astrophysics 1600 mount. Of course, we have the 16-inch Schmidt, but we do have the 4-inch Teleview on piggyback for imaging. You can use your own camera, or we have a ZWO camera in the observatory. And of course, there's no extra fee to use Owl Observatory. You just have to take a short training session. But we even have another user guide available like we do with a remote telescope. Okay, lastly, the meeting for next month is our featured presenter will be Pete Mumbauer, and he'll be talking about image automation with Sequence Generator Pro. Pete, you want to give us a preview?
Yeah, so basically I'm going to cover what it takes to automate your setup with Sequence Generator Pro. Just kind of go over the basics, what you need to do with the software. Make sure you go through a checklist, you need to have a mount that's, Ascom compatible, your auto guider, make sure your settings are set up properly, all the dialogues, there's a bunch of stuff, make sure your focal length is correct, all the stuff you need to do to be able to have it go do its thing by itself while you sit there and read a book, watch a sports game, sleep overnight. Hey, that'd be great, wouldn't it? So I'm just going to go through all the stuff all the problems I had initially, but now I don't have anymore. Knock on wood. I don't want to jinx myself, but yeah, I've been through a lot of the follies. I've now fully integrated now with my observatory part of it too, and weather monitors. So just going to cover all the basics. Like I say, we'll start off with the most basics, plate solving. Big one also is like the autofocuser, how to get that thing set up, because that one trips up a lot of people, how to get the things to autofocus properly, how to set up, how to even figure that out. When do you want to autofocus it? By temperature changes, by the hour, there's a bunch of ways we can look at the dialogues. So I'm going to cover all that kind of stuff so you can have a successful imaging session that's pretty much hands-free, and how to set up, if you want to bounce around from target to target or do one target, multiple nights. You know, there's a bunch of ways you can use this thing, and we'll cover that stuff.
All right, thank you, Pete. The last thing I wanted to mention is I wanted to give everyone a quick update on our search for the open positions that I've been mentioning quite a bit. I finally got a nomination from someone for the publicity manager, as someone that's highly qualified for the position that should be able to jump right into it right away. And we do have currently 7 nominations for the 4-member at-large positions. And of course, you're welcome to nominate yourself for any other position. It doesn't necessarily have to be one that has an open spot. Of course, you can run against me. I've been president forever. So if anybody wants to knock me off, I'm totally knockable. Go ahead and knock me off. Just don't knock me up. And so you can run for any position you want. So I just want to make that clear. You know, just because we have one person nominated doesn't mean you can't run. And we're still looking for someone to take over the Facebook pages, though. So I just wanted to mention that, you know, it's not a lot of work. You can just, you know, post maybe 1 or 2 things a week. Occasionally, I'll ask you to post something because I don't do the Facebook, but I know many people do. So it's not a major commitment. You know, it's not something you got to spend hours a day doing. You know, maybe just a few minutes here and there. So it's not a serious commitment. So just kind of keep that under consideration. And of course, we'll meet again on December 3rd for our general meeting, and we hope to see you all there. So if there's nothing else, we will go ahead and officially adjourn the Astrophoto SIG meeting.